x. Okay. Can you see my my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Where is it? Where is the Zoom thing? Here. Okay, excellent. Okie dokie. Let's start. Let me open the chat. Okay, great. And here we go. So we're gonna start. Yeah. So we started talking about this variable scope. Yeah. So basically, what happens when I have a function defined, and you know, we're using some variables from outside. So as we said, right, a variable that appears inside a function. Let me turn my video. A variable that appears inside a function, right, is limited to the scope of the function unless it's a variable that is used outside. Yeah? There are then some complications that happen. And we looked at examples of this. So really, you can use a variable from outside inside a function by passing it as an argument. Yeah, so the same name, variable name, or you can use it inside the function. Right? If you define it again, then it becomes local to the function. So you really don't, as if you're using a local variable inside the scope of the function. You can also access a variable from outside without really initializing it, and you can only access it, so read its value, you know, print its value, and so on. But you cannot update it. Yeah, that's not allowed in Python. So you cannot here, like in the third column here, we're trying to update a variable x that is not initialized at all the function a, and the variable is defined outside. We cannot update it, right? That's not allowed. And we looked at the three cases, and we've seen, you know, what happens when we run these tests. Okay, I'm gonna build on this today a little bit and look at, you know, nested functions. So functions, please mute. Whoever is not muted, please mute. Mute all. Sorry, mute all. Participants. Mute all. Okay. Good. All right. So now let's go back to the scope details. So here we have a function g, and inside of it, I'm defining another function h. Okay. And right, so this is right what I do in function h. So the indentation here matters. That's really the part about function h. Yeah. So basically, h is this, right? And g of x is all of this, right? Okay, great. And then I have the, you know, the global program, or the, you know, the main program, which has a variable defined. So x equal to 3 and z equal to, right, yeah, x equal to 3 and z equal to g of x. So let's see what happens when the Python interpreter tries to execute this code. It will start, it sees def g of x. This means, right, there is, you know, the global scope. I have something called g, which has some code. That's it. And then I see a variable x, right? So basically, I have a place in memory called x, right, reserved by the variable x. And then I have z, which is, you know, an invocation of a function, another value, right? So g would be some code, x would have the value 3, and z, to compute its value, I have to start, you know, getting into the g scope. Yeah? So basically, start executing the function g. Great. So what happens here? Now I have, I'll go do the same inside g, as if g was the main, you know, program. So I have h is going to be, right, first of all, x, the x that I'm passing, that's the first variable I have, okay? And it has the value 3 because I'm passing g of x, and x is equal to 3. Great. And now I have h, it's going to be some code because, you know, it's a function. Great. And then I continue the proof. So it says x is equal to x plus 1. This means I'll update x to 4. And then I'm going to go to the next statement, this one, and it says print in g of x, x is equal to, and it's going to print, right, the current value of x from the g scope, from the scope I'm currently in. So x is equal to 4. Note that in the global scope, x is equal to 3, right? So I'm going to print out g of x. 1 second, Raul. So g of x is equal to 4, and then I start invoking h. That will give me open the h scope. Okay, so basically I'll have the h scope. So now what's inside the h? It doesn't take any arguments. There are no variables defined yet. And then I have x is equal to ABC, because inside h, x is equal to ABC. So note that, throughout this program, I have 3 different values for x. In the global scope, it's 3. In the G scope, it's 4. And inside the h, it's, right, A, B, C. Okay, so now I'm done with the function h, because all it does is just say x is equal to A, B, C. Okay, so I'm going to go out of this. I don't return anything because it doesn't return anything, and continue with the rest of G. Rest of G saying return x. What is the value of x inside G? It's 4. So I'm going to return 4, and that would be the value of Z. So Z would be equal to 4. Okay. Why do we have h if I'm calling the function, right? Doesn't take any parameters, Christina. I'm calling the function, right? It doesn't take any arguments. Give me a second, Rawat, please. It doesn't take any arguments, and right, I'm calling it. Yeah, so I just, again, right, this is not a real program. It's just an illustration. I'm trying to make sure that you understand the idea of scopes. It's a program that does silly stuff, yeah, but it's just really to try to understand what is scoping in functions. Okay, Rawat, so we're not updating x inside the function. Where are we updating x inside the function? Yeah, we're updating x inside the G, you're right, but here, right, I passed it as an argument. So here I'm saying G of x. So it's as if I'm defining x inside this function. That's allowed. What's not allowed is to try to say, okay, G of y, and then here say x is equal to x plus 1. Okay, so really I'm passing it as an argument. Christina. All right, got it? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, good. So I'm going to run the program with you, and I want you to tell me again what it's going to print. Stop annotating. Clear. Okay. Okay, good. So where is the program? It's G and H. Okay. Okay, here is the exact same function as in the slides. Let's try to run it together, and please tell me, what is the program going to print. I'm gonna do Python gh.py. Can you tell me in the chat what is it going to print? Look at the whole program. Remember, right? It really starts executing from here, and then each time a function is invoked, it goes right and executes. Any thoughts? If I run this program, we just went through it. You can turn your mic on. What is it going to print? It's going to print none. Okay, that's what Muhammad is saying. None and 4. Okay. Any other thoughts? Let's trace it again. It's going to print. Michelle is saying 4. Okay. Rawad is saying in G of x, x is equal to 4. Okay. And then in H of x, x is equal to x. Okay. X is equal to 4, and so on. Okay. Not some of you got it correct, but not entirely. Let's do it again together. I'll start with x equal to 3. That's the first step. Then I'm calling G and passing the value 3 to it. So I'll get here inside this function, g, with the value 3, okay? I have a function. I don't care about it for now because I'm not executing it, right? I haven't called it yet. So I will reserve place for memory and memory for this function h, but I don't really do any executed yet. Okay, then I go to this step, x is equal to x plus 1. Okay, what is the value of x inside g that I passed to g? It's 3. So I'll update x to be 4. And then I'm going to print in g of x, x is equal to the current value, which is 4. So far, I have printed one line, which is in g of x, x is equal to 4. And then it comes this one. I'm calling the function h. So now I have to execute h. Okay, h doesn't take any parameters. Great, so I can just go inside and execute. Here I have x is equal a, b, c, a string which happens to be a, b, c. And then I'm saying in h of x, x is equal to a, b, c, right? That's what it says, right? Its scope, x is equal to a, b, c. So it's going to print in h of x, x is equal to a, b, c. So now we printed in g of x, x is equal to 4, and write h of x, x is equal to a, b, c. And then I go to the next step, which is return the value of x. What is the value of x from g, right? As soon as I get out of h, the value of x inside h doesn't matter, right? I go back to where I was. So x was last equal to 4. I return this value here, and so z becomes 4. Okay, let's run it. And then I'll take questions, and then we play a little bit with it. So as you guys see, it printed in g of x, x is equal to 4 from this line. And then in h of x, x is equal to abc from this line. Yeah, even though, right, this comes first, but it doesn't print the statement unless function h is called.
Professor, if we called the h before doing this print in g of x,
yeah,
it would have written in h of x before in g of x.
Absolutely, right? So let's try. That's a cool one. So h, right here, I'm calling h, right? I update the value of x inside g, and then I call h. What happens as soon as I see this calling of h, I immediately stop here and start, invoking the function or executing the function. Right? So basically, it would be, right, if we run it now, as we said, it will say in h of x, x is equal to abc, and then, right, x is equal to 4. Yeah?
Thank you.
You're welcome. It didn't return x, right? So yes, it didn't return x because here I'm not saying return x, right? So the function h doesn't return anything. So it's going to return none. Why are you confused, Christina? Did you actually try to run the examples from last time? Tell me, what are you confused about? Turn your mic on and tell me, what are you confused about?
No, sir, I went over the lecture, but I'm just confused why it didn't return x.
Because I'm not saying here return x. I have to say return x, right? If I want to return the value of x, I have to say return x. And then I have to assign it to some value. Like let's say y is equal h of x. If I don't say return x, it's just going to execute the function, do something, and then goes back to where it was. You have to explicitly say return the value of x. You don't have to do it every function. Remember the function we did with the this turtle module. We're just drawing stuff, but it doesn't return any value. It just does execute some steps, right? I want to abstract them inside a function, but it doesn't have to return a value all the time. Yeah? So not every function has to return a value. So what happened?
But didn't we say return x for g of x?
Yeah, for g of x, we said return x. So I can do, right, anything I want. Some functions return the value, some functions don't return. It's up to me, right? I can also do the following, right? Say this, don't return. But in that case, right, it will give me an error if I'm trying to, assign the value. So I can do the following. That's allowed as well, right? Then I'm saying, okay, the function g is going to print something, the function h is going to print something, and that's it. So it's up to you, right, the programmer, to decide whether a function returns a value or not. Does that clear the confusion a little bit? Okay, great. Rawad, what are you saying? I missed. Yes, so Muhammad and Nama, the same question as Christine. It's not necessary. A function doesn't have to always return a value. You can write a function that returns a value, function that doesn't. It's up to you. Yes, and that's what Rawad is saying. Okay. We don't modify x here. We do modify x here, but the problem that we don't get an error because I'm passing it as an argument. It's as if I'm defining it inside the function. You see it, Jana? Because I'm saying g of x. If I do g of y, for instance, and I try to, now it will take x from outside and will give me an error. Why? Because I'm trying to update a variable that is not defined in the scope of this function. You see, good question. Yeah, but here I'm passing it as an argument, so it's as if I'm defining it inside the scope of G. Other questions? Okay, let's play with this again, right? More things. Let's do more things here. So I'll keep it as is, and we'll change things a little bit, and you tell me what's happening. Okay. So let's say I do the following. X. Okay. Okay. I've changed the program a little bit. I want you to tell me what is it going to print. Again, you start from here and you trace, right? Step by step. Any thoughts? Okay, so in h of x, x is equal to 5. Okay, that's what Nisreen is saying. And then in g of x, x is equal to 4. Okay, and then it returns right. Perfect, right? So Nisreen and Jana, and Lynn and Jad got it correct. That's right. Right, so in h of x, x is equal to 5, and g of x, x is equal to 4, right? Of course, I update x here, but that doesn't reflect outside. Type. Let's see the following. If I do this, Okay, Joseph saying error, Nisreen is saying error, Mahdi is saying error. Excellent, excellent, right? Why error? Because I did not pass x as a parameter here, and I did not initialize it here. So I'm trying to update a variable that is defined outside, right? That is basically right. I can access a variable, but I cannot update. Let's try it. And gives you, as you guys said, an error, right? You're trying to update this x inside the function h, but it's not defined inside the scope. We passed it inside g of x, right? Correct. So I can update it inside g of x. But now h is a different story. H is its own function with its own scope, right? Remember in the slide, we opened h, right? Like this. So it's a different thing. Okay, why is it? Oh, yeah, okay, right? It's its own scope. Okay, maybe one more and then we move on. Let's do the following. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, so let's see the following. I'm gonna give it a different value. So we're passing. Let's confuse you a little bit more. Okay. Yeah. Thoughts? So Jad is saying, okay, and g of x, x is equal to 6. That's, and h of x, x is equal to 7, and in main equal x equal to 5. Okay, you all agree? So Jad, Michelle is saying this, Rawad is saying the same. Okay. Muhammad is saying something slightly different, that it will print in h of x equal to 7 first, and then in g of x 6. Main would be 6, right? So Nisreen has, I think, has got it correct, right? So here is what it's going to print. What is the first statement that is going to print is this one. Why? Because I follow the code, right? I start with this method, with this line, then this line. This line is a function code. So I go inside f. H is just a definition, so I'll ignore it for now. And then I execute this statement. So x, I passed it as 5, it will become 6. And then I'm saying in print, in g of x, x is equal to 6. So the first statement that it's going to print is here, in g of x, x is equal to 6. Then it will call function h and pass it x as a parameter. So I'm allowed to update x inside h because I'm passing it as an argument. So now, what did I pass the value of x? X has already been updated, right? I passed it from here as 5, but I updated it to 6. So it's as if I'm calling h of 6, right? Now x is equal to 6 plus 2, that's 8. So it's going to print in h of x, x is equal to 8. And then it's done with this function. I return the value of x. What is the value of x inside g? It's 6. So it's going to say z is equal to 6. But, inside the main scope, x is still 5. Right? So it's going to print the following. Let's see. It's going to print in g of x, the first thing, x is equal to 6. Then in h of x, x is equal to 8. And then in main, x is equal to 5. Why in main x is equal to 5? Because all updates that happened inside the h and the g are not reflected. Why is h of x not 7? Because I updated x, as soon as I got inside g, right, I updated it to 6. It was originally passed as 5, Christina, and then I said x is equal to x plus 1. That's 5 plus 1, that's 6. That's how I call h with, right? H of 6. So 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. Yeah, it's going this way, right? And line by line. Always think about it like this. I start with this line, right? That's the first line in the main program. Then this line. As soon as I get a function call like this, I start executing the function line by line. Of course, this is another function definition, so I'm going to skip it until I see a call. So what's the next line? It's here. X was 5, it will become 6. Then I'm going to print in g of x, x is equal to 6. And now I'm calling h with the current value of x. What is the current value of x? Right? If you open the drawer of x inside g, what is that now? It's 6. So now I'm calling this function with x is equal to 6. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. That's why I'm going to print. Okay? And then once I return, any updates that happen inside h are no longer there, right? So I remain, what is the last value of x inside g? It was 6. So I'm going to return 6 to z, right? So z would be equal to 6. And now, what is the last value of x inside the main? It was 5. I never updated it inside. Okay? I know it's a little bit confusing, but the best strategy is take this code, do this exercise as I did it right now. Play with them, right, and see what happens. Okay? So change things, right, in the program and try to guess what is it going to print. Right? Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is, we're gonna go this by passing. This is a little bit advanced, but it's worth mentioning or for you to know. But we're not gonna dwell on this a lot, right? So in Python, you can also pass functions as arguments, right? So basically, you can say, okay, I'm gonna pass the function name as an argument. Let's see an example of this. It's not difficult. It's just something that is not very common in other programming languages. So let's see the following. I have a set of functions defined, right? So I have function A, function B, function C. All of these would be places in memory, right? If I annotate, try to annotate, right? Yeah, so this is the global scope, G-scope, I'll call it, right? And then you would have, F A is just some code in memory, right? Nothing, I don't see anything inside of it. FB, that's how the Python is going to do it, right? FB, and then FC. Okay, great. And now it says the next statement that it will execute really is this, right? Print function of A. Right? Function of A is what? Is a call for this function. So what is it going to print? It's gonna execute this function. This function doesn't return anything. So it's gonna, execute it and then print whatever this function returns. So first of all, what does it print as soon as it calls function A? Sweet, right? Print of function A. First, this means what? Execute function A, right? So I go inside function A, what do? I print inside function A. So that's the first thing I'm going to print. Right? So basically, I'm going to print this guy. This is the first statement. Okay. And now, what does function A return? Can anybody tell me? Does it return any value? Nothing. None, right? So I'm gonna, replace this by the value it returns. In that case, none. So I'm going to print none next. And now I'm done with this statement completely. Okay. Then comes this second one. Print 5 plus function B of 2. Anybody can tell me what it's going to do? So it's going to say, okay, I need to print 5 plus whatever this function call returns, right? Function B of 2. This means, execute this function where y is equal to 2. It's going to print inside function B. Okay. And now what return the value of y. So what does it return? Exactly, it returns 2 because y, I passed it as 2. So this thing would be replaced by the value 2. And so it's going to print 2 plus 5, that's 7, as Jad said. And then the third one, that's the, the confusing one. It's going to call function C of function A. So basically, it's going to write print whatever function C returns. And let's see what it returns, right? So function C, I pass the parameter Z as function A. So I'm saying print inside function C. So it's going to print this statement. And then it's going to return Z. And then if you see the parenthesis here, this means, I'm going to return function A, call the function A. So when I call function A, it's going to return and print inside function A. And then what does this function return? It returns none. So this would be, returned. So it's going to return right now. Let's try it. I know this is slightly, advanced, but don't worry too much about it, particularly the third one. That's the third statement. The first two statements we've already covered. The third statement is how do I, pass functions as arguments? Yeah, we'll look at that later on. Let's try it. What is it called? Nested, maybe? Nested functions. Yeah. Annotate, clear. Okay. So here's the same functions. Okay. Let's see them. So I have the function A, the function B, the function C. Let's start with this first statement. Yeah. So I'm going to print function A. So whatever execute function A and whatever it returns, print on the screen. Okay, so that's Python nested functions. Okay, so let's trace this out. Printed inside function A because I'm calling the function A. Okay, so that's the first thing it prints. All right, and then what does function A return? It returns none, so it's going to print none. Exactly, so that's why it prints none, right? So it prints two things, right? Whatever is inside a print statement inside function A will be printed, and then afterward it prints whatever the function returns. It's not invalid. All are valid, right? It's the thing that it's printing none, right? Because these functions do not return anything. Then comes this second one, print 5 plus function B of 2. So I'm going to call function B of 2. First statement in function B is inside function B. So I'm going to print inside function B, and then I'm going to return the value of y. What is the value of y inside function B? It's 2, because I passed y as 2 and I did not update it. So I'm going to say, 5 plus 2, that's 7. So I'm going to print 7. Then comes the third one, print function C of function A. So I'm going to say, call function C and pass Z as, the variable function A, the word function A. So I'm going to print inside function C. And then I'm saying return Z of parentheses. What is Z? It's function A. So I'm going to call function A again. So I'm going to print inside function A and then return whatever value it returns to the caller. It returns none. So I'm going to return this to the caller. And so I'm going to print none. Because I want to call the function fail, right? So if I don't do this, right, I'm just returning the reference to the function, right? Let's try this out and see what it does. Right? Turns right inside function. It didn't call function A again, right? So it's print inside function C and then just returned right, basically a reference to the name of the drawer where the function, the code of function C, function A is. Yeah, that's really the thing. This is a little bit, as I said, too advanced, but right, what I'm saying is you can replace Z. What is the value of Z? It's function A. So when I see function A and then parentheses, it's as if I'm calling the function again. Fairly, yeah. I know this is slightly difficult, but don't dwell into it. Try to run it at home. You might use it later on. Like in most exercises, you won't need it, but you might use it later on. Just one cool thing about Python. Let's see. Let's play a little bit with this one. A couple of things. Then function A and then return 3. Or let's say y equal to 5 and then return y. Okay. And then here I'm going to say y plus equal to return y. And then in this one, yeah, let's try this out. Okay, again, let's start with the first statement. For the last statement, sir, is there an order for which the functions are executed? Yes, right? So it's going to go here, print the statement. We're going to execute function C, right? With the parameter Z equal to function A, the label function A. So it's going to print the statement, and then it sees return Z of parentheses. This means I'm calling another function. Which function? It's function A. So it's going to execute function A, and then whatever values it returns, it's going to return back to the caller and eventually print. Okay, so I've changed the functions a little bit. I want you to tell me what it's going to do. Let's start with the first statement, this one. Any thoughts what it's going to print? Let's focus on function A. So Jad is saying inside function A and 5. Why 5? Lynn is saying 4, Rawat is saying 4, Jad is saying 4. Other people, try. Mahdi 4, okay, Muhammad 4. Yeah, okay. So basically, it's going to print right? Inside function A, perfect, and then 4. That's the first one. Okay, the second one, this guy. Christina, we're not hearing from you anymore, right? Try to guess this one for us, please. So print 5 plus function B of 2. Okay, I see Jad said something. Anybody else has other thoughts or the same thought? Maddie saying 9 as well. Okay, so let's try it out. I'm going to call function B and pass it the value 5. What do I do with y? I increment y by 2, so y 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, so 5 plus 2 is 7. And then I'm going to print inside function B. And then I'm going to return the value of y. What is the value of y now? It's 7. So it becomes 5 plus 7, that's 12. Then we pass 2 thirds. Yes, you're right. Right. So you guys are right. 9, it's 9. Okay, sorry. So it's 2 plus 2, that's 4. I'm going to return 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Third one, the difficult one. Again, trace it as if really, step by step. So I'm going to call function C of function A. So what happens? I execute function C. So it's going to print inside function C, okay. And then it calls return Z of parentheses. While D, it's function A. So function A means I execute this guy. So I was going to print inside function A, okay. And then I return the value of y. Well, the value of y, it's 4. So I return 4 to the caller. So it's going to print. Muhammad and Jad got it correct. And I hope the other ones also are. Let's try it. And as you guys, 1 second, right? As you guys said, right? I'm going to say inside function A and then 4, inside function B and 9, and then inside function C, inside function A and 4. Okay? Okay, all right. Okay, try it out at home, do different things and see what happens. Okay. Final thing I want to talk about related to functions, and we'll see functions a lot again. Yeah, so don't worry. Something related to arguments, yeah, and default values and stuff like this. Yeah, so it's very simple. So here's a function that I have. So most of the functions we looked at takes one argument. Yeah, so one single argument, and the assignment only assumes that all the functions take a single argument. But in principle and in reality, you're going to do a function that takes multiple arguments, so multiple parameters, and you do something with them. Here's one example of this function. It really is a simple function. All it does is it takes from the user 3 values, right, or from the caller 3 values: a string for the first name, a string for the last name, and a Boolean that tells me how should I, interpret the name, or how should I print or display the name. So if reverse was true, you write the last name first, then comma, and then the first name. If reverse was false, you write first name, space, last name. That's all the function does. Yeah. So really, right, you can write a method, and we kind of did one method with multiple parameters, the polygon one. It takes the length of the side and the number of the side. Yeah. So here's another example of a multi-argument function. It takes 3 parameters, a string, and a Boolean, and based on the Boolean value, prints, right, concatenate the first name and last name in a certain way. Okay. So, okay, let's immediately play with it. So name, I think, print name, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do multiple runs, and I want you to tell me what is it going to print. Yeah, so it's exactly the same method. I'm gonna remove this because you haven't seen this yet, and then we built on it. So print. Sorry, I'm gonna call the function to print name and give it the value. Okay. Rawad, Batrawi, and false. If I run this function, what is it going to print? I'm waiting for your input. Then it's saying Rawad Batrawi, Joseph saying Rawad Batrawi. Okay. Not Road Batrawi, right? Rawad, right? Okay. Let's try it. And up here, say Python. As you guys say, Rawad Batrawi. Yes. Fine. Let's try it with, okay, Daniel. Let's do Lynn. Then Amouri. And I do true. So again, right, this value, right? So when I say pass these three arguments like this, first name becomes Lynn, last name becomes Amouri, and reverse is equal to true. Okay. Thoughts? Okay, so it's gonna print Amouri. Okay, almost correct, but yeah, you're right. No, you're right. What Lynn said is correct, right? Because no Daniel, right? The comma means a space. If I want to add a comma, which is like the exercise, I would. Sorry, you're right. No, I'm passing these three arguments, but you're right, Daniel. Right? It's gonna print last name and then concatenate comma and then first name. So it's Amouri. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anybody doesn't see it? Let's try it. Amouri. Okay, great. Right. So this is simple. There's other ways of doing, passing arguments to the function. So I can always say the following, right? If I don't specify the name of the argument, if I have multiple arguments, I don't specify the name of the argument as I'm passing it, then it, does based on the order. So first name would be the first thing I passed. Last name would be the second thing I passed, and reverse would be the third thing I passed. But I can also do the following. I can say, okay, last name equal to Amouri. So I specify exactly, right, which argument this is, and then reverse equal. So here I'm saying explicitly what each parameter that I'm passing corresponds to which argument in the function. And in that case, I can switch the order. It doesn't matter. Note that the function expects first name at the first parameter, but here, since I'm specifying explicitly what the name of the argument is for which this value will be assigned, I can put them in any order. In fact, I can put reverse in the beginning. So what is it going to print in this case? Again, Amouri Lynn. Okay, and if I do this, so again, here I'm just all I'm doing is instead of implicitly passing the arguments, I'm explicitly saying, right, which value corresponds to which argument. Okay, so Nasreen is saying and Mahdi is saying, right, Lynn, Amouri. Right, exactly. Let's try it. And as you guys said, it's okay. Why is this useful? I mean, because of the following, right? I can also specify default values for parameters. I can say here, as I'm defining the function, I'm saying the following, right? Reverse is by default false. Okay, this means the following. This means that I can go here and say this, right? So first name, last name is Amouri, first name is Lynn, right? And I don't specify reverse at all. What does it mean, right? A default value? It means as you're describing the function or writing the function, you specify a default value that if you don't pass it, the caller doesn't pass this value, it will be assumed that the variable or the argument is equal to this. So any thoughts what this would print? If I say print last name is equal to Amouri, first name is equal to Lynn. Okay, Rawad is saying it's going to print Amouri Lynn. Anybody agrees or disagrees? Mahdi saying no, it's going to print Lin Amouri. Okay. So reverse is equal to false. This means I'll get into the else statement. Yeah. So I'm going to print this. Yes, Jeff. Okay, exactly. So I'm going to say this. It's going to print Lin Amouri. Let's try another example. So let's do the following. Jad Zarzour. Okay. What is it going to print? Okay, Jad is saying Jad Zarzour. Let's try it. And as he said, it's going to print, right? So if here I'm passing, we know 2 parameters only, and the function expects 3 parameters. So, okay, so it's going to match based on the order, because this one, it will take its default value, right? So it's going to say Jad Zarzour and reverse this false, okay? Right, what about this? Now I'm passing, right? Reverse is equal to true. I'm overriding the default value. I'm saying, okay, the default for reverse is false, but now I'm, explicitly saying it's true, exactly as Lynn and right side. It's going to print in this case, Zarzour and Joseph is saying. So it's going to print Zarzour and okay, and of course you can combine all of these. So you can really, do all sorts of things. Okay. I think that's enough for today. Try this out as well. Play with this example, change things and see what happens. Just one last thing for the last exercise in the assignment. There is a module called random. We already explicitly mentioned this in the assignment. And what it does, it generates random values. There are various ones, various methods of them, and we'll revisit them. But the one you need for this exercise is either one of the first 2. Yeah, so really it just generates a random value between. So if I import random, like here, right, I do Python, and then I say import random. So import the library random, and then I say random.random in my code. It's gonna return back a value between 0 and 1, a random value between 0 and 1. If I run it again, another value between 0 and 1. If I do random.uniform of 1 and 5, is going to return a value between 1 and 4, a random value between 1 and 4, right? Or 4 point, right before 5. It will not give you anything 5 or above. So if you see it, right, it's generating random values. We'll look at the other ones later on. Yeah, but these are the ones. Either one of these is sufficient for you to do the last assignment, the Monte Carlo simulation. Okay. Questions? All right, great. So please do these couple of exercises, the last perhaps 3 scripts or 3 programs. Play with them a lot, change things, and look at what the program is printing. This is the best way you will get the hang of this. How do you feel about Zoom? Is it better? Okay, Jad think better. Flags less. Christina, better. Okay, much better. Other people? Same thing. Ali saying, okay, better. I was there, right, Jad? So I stayed in the WebEx to kind of move people here, right? So I think, right, most of the people that did not receive the email, I managed to get them here. Okay, much better. Okay, so let's stick to Zoom. I'll update, I'll send an announcement on Moodle. I'll also write it on the top of the page. If you know somebody who is not aware of this, please let them know, right? I will share with you the link for the lecture on Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Have fun with the assignment. And you should get your grade for the first exam soon. So perhaps throughout the weekend. Okay? Right. Take care. Stop share. How do I stop recording? Yes.